Hello, this is Lisa Hazard with We're All Psychic. I have been working on the audio for this wonderful podcast for a couple days. I don't know if this happened to any of you other podcasters, but this is an editor's note. Windows did an update and they made it so our laptops would be on a normal performance when we were plugged in. So, yeah, I think that might be the reason the audio was so troublesome. But it's otherwise, it could just be a phenomenon that should be explored. With further ado, here is Misty and Jesse and the recorded podcast without as much, hopefully, without as much of an issue as there was to begin with for you guys on your end. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello, this is Lisa Hazard and Misty with We Are All Psychic, and today we have a very special guest, like usual. They're all special. This is Jesse. Jesse, would you like to say hello?
Hello, how's it going, guys? Hope you're good.
I'm sure they're good. They're listening to this podcast. Just kidding. Jesse, we have a question for you. Do you think we are all psychic?
Yeah, I think that every human is like a diamond in the sense that diamonds are multifaceted. So we each have, certain sides to our personality, certain skills we develop that are more than other people. Maybe there's some sides of our, skills we have that have dust, like diamonds. One side of the diamond might have a little dust or dirt on it. And I think psychic ability is kind of like that. I think some people are born, with past lives experience or whatever you might have that be born into a certain culture or family where they come into life and it's easier for them to access this, right? Different cultures.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you're born with a mom or a dad who's, into some spiritual practice, it's gonna be a lot easier than if you're just from a super conservative family in Bulgaria or something, right? That's just like, that's just kind of like, so, but I think it's like the pineal gland and the ability to be psychic to it starts with meditation in my opinion, but some people just have it naturally. Some people are just naturals, but I think everyone can develop this ability.
So do I. I totally agree with that. That's why
they just got to work for it. Yeah. They got to work for it.
So listeners, Jesse, exactly. I met Jesse on Instagram. I followed his account and I thought all his information was freaking amazing. So I chased him down and asked him to be on the podcast and he said yes. So I'm very excited about it. Jesse, would you like to tell the listeners what happened? Where did you get, how did you get into all this? Were your parents interested in this, or is this something you discovered on your own? Like your side?
Yeah, it was not, I was like, I grew up on the West Coast of the US. I live in Romania now. I'm French American. That's enough countries and places for you. But basically, I was really a young kid that loved sports. I loved NBA. I wanted to be a basketball player. I was really athletic, or pretty athletic, not enough to make the NBA. But, high school and kind of my college days, I was really not, I don't want to ever say I was ever typical because I'm not typical, but I like to party. I like to get drunk and go out. And it wasn't that I wasn't spiritual. Like, if maybe I'd meet my friend's mom who knew a thing about astrology and like talk to her for a few hours, but not really know like why I was interested in that. And I had some difficult life experiences. I kind of went a little bit too hard. If you guys know about astrology, I have a lot of that Jupiterian energy, which when it's taken too much, you can think of it as overly expansive. And that's how I was with parties. And now I've kind of channeled that into, more healthy stuff. But basically I got into benzodiazepines. A bunch of kind of bad stuff happened. I had always very sensitive kid. My mom was into shamanism, so she was actually spiritual. My dad, not so much. So I always had her as someone that kind of like would plant little seeds or tell me about stuff, but I was never like, I was too in love. I was too conditioned, with the programming of society, not to get too like that. But I was, I knew that going that direction wasn't cool. It wasn't going to be good for girls or good for popularity or whatever the stuff I cared about. So yeah, it took me some really difficult experiences. I did go to rehab for Xanax, benzodiazepines. I got into that for a few years where I was taking it every day and I was addicted. And basically I had this whole spiritual, I guess you could say, like awakening of sorts when I got out of rehab and moved to Boulder, Colorado. I went to a school called Naropa. That's kind of a weird school. I mean, I wouldn't say it's for everyone, but it definitely has a place. At least it had a usage.
Naropa?
Naropa University. It's Naropa. So it's like founded by a Tibetan monk. There's a lot of controversy around it.
That's cool.
It sounds amazing on the outside. I'm not gonna lie. Like in my books, I have a book. I was telling you guys, Pisces Live 9 Lives. It's not done yet. It'll be done later this year. I'm still in school, but I was talking about, like, I wrote a whole chapter about this part of my life and completely deleted it because I was like, it's not fun. It's just like, this is where I got spiritual. This is where I met Tre, my best friend and podcast host on Jesse and Tre Podcast. I'm plugging like all my stuff right now. But anyways, so I met tons of people. I had tons of amazing spiritual experiences. It was a school that really, through the people I met and the experiences I had, it was what was needed at the time. And I kind of like found all these deep skills with astrology through people I met there, and just kind of pursued something that I wouldn't have pursued in the past. So, if you're listening to this and or I'm sure people listening at least have males in their lives who are kind of how I was described, the typical masculine guy who goes out and parties and likes girls and likes sports and all that stuff. I was that, and I completely transformed. I still love sports. I still love girls. I'm just not in that kind of way as before. Not that I was ever like too far in that direction, but like, I have a girlfriend.
You have a big interest right now. Basically, like very far away from that stuff in traditional culture. Those two things aren't usually. You don't think of the dude watching football and lighting sage when they get a touchdown. Or if their team's doing badly, they're going to burn some Palo Santo so they can do better. It's just it's just not, those things don't usually go together.
Yeah, and even with like addiction too, that you were just talking about. Me and Lisa have talked about this before. A lot of us that are sensitive, go through stuff like that because we don't know how to control ourselves. We don't know how to get these things out, the proper way.
I wanted to suppress a lot of stuff with drinking. Was the thing I was like, let's get this out. And then when I'd get too drunk, it'd come raging out, but it'd be fun. Like I'd had it, like it was like, for me, when I wasn't drinking, it was hard to deal with the energies and not knowing what to do with them and not knowing anybody to talk about it to. Mm-hmm. But when I was drinking, I would be okay with everything. And I felt like I was more in control of it. And it was also easier to work with because I was drunk,
Yeah, you're more relaxed.
So, but it got to be a problem. So, so do you think that when you were in rehab, did you go to like a traditional rehab where they would,
very traditional.
Is that what made you kind of want to go into spirituality a little bit? Because they do rehabs, they will put a lot of Christianity sometimes. The one I went to when I was 22 was just for a week. The guy told me, well, I didn't really have an addiction at the time, but they were treating me that way. And he said, well, give God your suffering. And we were like, well, I don't really believe in God, And he said, well, just give it to this chair. This chair can take your desire to drink anything. He's like, you can use that cup, give that cup your desire to drink or whatever it is, and that like kind of gave me like a different perspective. I was like, can I worship that cup? No, I'm just kidding. Give stuff to you. That good. No one's stopping.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah, that's right.
It's a precious cup.
Yeah.
I love Dr. Pepper.
How did that transition happen for you from like that kind of strict type of traditional rehab into going to school at this really open-minded kind of, like, where did that step go in for you? Where did you want to, what made you want to do that?
I think I kind of just stuck to myself. I mean, I had friends because I went from rehab to sober living in Southern California for a year. And I had friends, but I was into meditation. I just took my interest in meditation to a new level. I hung out with friends, don't get me wrong, but, I really spent a lot of time alone as much as I could because to be honest, I saw a lot of people I was with. And I was like, I'm not going to be like, a lot of these people will probably relapse. It's just statistics. And, a lot of them will go into like business or go into like something. They're just none of them are headed in the direction I'm headed. So, I had friends, but I stuck to myself. And I think I started reading some books, some more like spiritual books, maybe like I had a really good counselor too. My counselor was awesome that I had when I was there. And we talked, we got through a lot of my psychological baggage. And then the way I found the school is actually through my mom, because I'm very intuitive, and sometimes people will just tell me something and something clicks. Even if, like, for example, the guest we just had on our podcast, that was from a conversation where Tre mentioned this lady's name and really briefly, like 3 months ago, and just like came back to me. So it's the same thing with a school. My mom told me the name, and just like one time, and I remembered it when I was making my decision what I want to do next for master's programs between a business school and this school came to mind. And then I was like, I know that's what I need. It's like the business school, international business. I was like, that's kind of what my ego wants.
Mm-hmm.
But this sort of whatever healing, even though it's a counseling degree, I'm not really headed towards being a counselor per se. Maybe I will, who knows? Mm-hmm. That was just more of what I needed. So I went towards that for once, and it ended up being a great call, and the other stuff just kind of came to me.
You're so lucky to be able to do that. Yeah, very, very lucky.
I totally relate to what you're saying about hearing something and just knowing, like, just like a name or a place or something like that. Something just catches your attention, and it's like, and then if it catches my attention again, like, whoa, I gotta, like, there's just like it's different than just hearing like my husband's name, Mikie. The first time I heard his name, Mikie Hazard, when I was 22 or 23, I hadn't met him yet. We were going to his house for a party. And I was like, this name, I've never heard it before, but I didn't say this to my friends who were taking me. I was just like, of course it is a cool name. Hazard is his last name. It's like a cool last name. But I was just like, what is it about this name? And as soon as I laid eyes on him, I was like, oh, that's what it is, So, like stuff like that has always happened to me too, but I've never really thought about it too much until you mentioned it. But that was something that was recurring, especially when I was younger. Things just like standing.
My theory on that.
I'd love to hear your theory.
I read in a book. Yeah, I read in some book. It was like some past life regression book of some sort. I forget which one. They're saying that like the souls before they incarnate, that there's little like key words or key things that you'll see that will remind you of something important. So it's like, even like the word Romania and Turkey were always countries, like the names of them, like were just like, they had something in my brain, some interest, some curiosity. And it sounds like that was the same thing with your husband. Like it was kind of pre-programmed into you to, when that name comes up, to have something go off. You don't know what it is. It's like like a little energetic alarm that you can't really feel. Like you can kind of subtly feel it, right? It's a very subtle energy, but it's something, and it makes you think, that was interesting. What's that? It's like someone tickles you under the arm, like for like a millisecond.
Exactly. In this case, it was my heart, but that's how it feels. It does feel like there's like almost a tap on the shoulder, but a tap on like inside your heads or something. Like, hey, so
I totally I agree with what he's saying too, as far as like, me and Lisa kind of believe the same thing about how everything was pretty much, we decided that we were going to come here and reincarnate and go the path that we're supposed to go on. But it's so funny about with me and Lisa, like you were talking about your husband, Lisa, but we did the same thing, as far as our friendship, you know what I mean? Like I did it with you. Like before I even met you, probably a year before I met you, I was looking for like a psychic reader, and I found you on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at your picture and I was like, I don't know. It was just like something was just like ding, 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 ding. And then a year later, all this came together. So, it kind of reminds me of the same thing. It's like we were meant to be, friends.
The first time I gave you a reading, and Jessie, I mean, I read tarot professionally too. But I was giving her a reading at the shop I just started working at. And I just I'd never read the cards better or easier or faster. It felt like, it's just like I knew like exactly what it was like, when does the Four of Pentacles reversed mean stealing? And it's like, were you accused of stealing?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like we were really connected. And so what happened to you after, like when you were at the school, you made some friends. So these were like probably different kinds of friends than you were used to having, like kind of new types of personalities into your life. And were you all exploring? Were you all like exploring?
Most people were pretty spiritual.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, like I was, like I said, like my best friend Tre, like so speaking of meant to be, he was my roommate when I first arrived at school. He just was the guy that was my roommate, and it was just like, so that was like
That's so lucky.
my, we
I
were
know,
like
right?
best friends.
Meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah, it was exactly. It's kind of like going back on what you guys were saying. I had some friends, but I was really like, I was mostly hanging out with him. Like we hung out a shit ton. We were like, brothers, and yeah, but like the other friends I had at the school were all spiritual people. A lot of them were like not eating meat. A lot of them were doing yoga and stuff like that, and at least interested. But in terms of astrology, the way I started getting into astrology was I had a friend named Gigi, and Gigi had a friend named Danielle, who ended up being the girl who kind of like, I started talking to her because she used to go to Naropa. And then through her, that was kind of like the first person I met who was like, I was like, whoa, she's really cool and she's into astrology. It's like, until that point, I had no experience in that. I was just like, that's cool. Maybe I could be like a male, not totally like that, but she just kind of like, I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to her about astrology. And it kind of like enticed me to follow it more and more. And yeah, I kind of became obsessed with astrology during those years. I'd be like reading like 20 books at the same time. It's going wild.
yes.
So
that's me right now. Yeah.
How long have you been like actively studying astrology, where you're reading books and writing about it?
Not long.
Like a year?
Not long. I mean, 5 years maybe.
5 years, yeah.
Like
You seem to have a
5
lot
years.
of knowledge and wisdom about it just from the posts I saw on Instagram. So like, what do you think? What do you get out of astrology mainly? What is like the big, like, what do you feel like? For me, tarot cards they're really helpful for exploring why things happen and how I might change things that could happen that I don't want them to, or prevent,
and help people. Yeah.
Especially help others figure themselves out. So is that like, what is astrology for you? Is it like a tool for that, or is it a personal exploration, or?
Oof, loaded question. I think astrology is a lot. I mean, it's a way of looking at life. The Vedic astrologer said something along the lines of, if you understand astrology, everything else becomes easier to understand, because you can just, for example, like it helps me so much, like understand the world around me, the people around me. And I realized that like when I know someone's chart, even if it's someone who I might not, okay, so imagine there's a person I don't like that much, right? For whatever reason, maybe they annoy me. And then I learn about their astrology. I see their chart once. Let's say it's a famous person or someone I just know. Suddenly I gain this like compassion, this empathy that wasn't there before, because I understand, like, let's say they have like a Scorpio moon or something like that, or I don't know, there's a million different combinations, but like, or a different opposition of Pluto to their moon, who knows? I suddenly gain compassion when I see them differently. I start to see them through the lens of astrology, which is very beautiful to be able to like understand someone on a deep level, probably better than they even understand themselves. It's crazy, but then of course, how well do I understand myself? Who knows? I understand.
You probably can understand other people better. Yeah, it's like her understanding ourselves. It's like, I think that's what we're here for.
Yeah,
maybe.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah,
but that's really cool. So it invites compassion into your perspective in that way. So it gives you like it kind of takes your edge off, and maybe your judgments of people and stuff like that. And it gives you, it seems like I had a really good friend who was an astrologer. We haven't talked in a while. We had a falling out, but he was really good, and he sent me books and tried to teach me, and I couldn't really get it. Now, I've studied every single type of divination that I could find, but I couldn't get a grasp of astrology very well. And just in the last year, I started working on it some more. And that's why your Instagram account really grabbed me, because I was like, wow, these are like the things I want to know that I don't know where to find it. I don't know how to find these things or rationalize and reason them out. And you have a really great way of teaching that to people, like how to use the astrology, how to understand themselves with it, just from your Instagram. So I can't imagine what this book is going to be like when you put it out. It's going to be fantastic, I would imagine. So like it's
actually not it's not an astrology book, actually. There's like very little it's like kind of like a memoir at the start, and then it's like a map of like my mind / the things that I find. Like I'll have a chapter about cats, and I'll have a chapter about the importance of intellectual curiosity, then I'll have a chapter about whatever random
Well,
thing
sounds
I
like
think
a
is important. It's like
kind of like essays.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Not that formal though. It's like
Right.
it's not like my writing style. It's like I'm not like trying to like blow people away by using huge English words. I speak 3 languages. I don't want to make my stuff only legible for academics. So I try really hard to like write in a way that anyone, even a high schooler or whatever, could understand well.
Right,
high school,
right.
maybe middle schooler, who knows?
So, okay, I have a couple questions. I have always been interested in astrology, but like when somebody looks at a chart, like I'm looking at one right now, and of course, I'm totally lost. Okay, and I'm looking at these, and you've got your sun, your moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and they're in different places, like Libra, Scorpio, or whatever. So can you kind of give me like a short definition of what this means?
Yeah. So it's basically it's the chart. You have the circular diagram in front of you.
Yeah.
Like that's the one you have.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's basically a photograph of the sky. So if it's your birth chart, at the sky at the moment you were born.
Oh.
And the circle. So the circle, the top represents the top of the sky. It's actually in the opposite direction. So the left part on the chart is actually the east, and it just represents where the planets were in the sky on the ecliptic at the moment you're born, and where the planets were, the planetary points in astrology. Yeah, the moon is counts as a planetary point in astrology, and from that we thousands of years have developed meanings for the different configurations. Everyone's chart is exactly unique, but each planet represents a function, right? So you can think of the planets are like the what. So you have a Mars function, you have a Venus function, you have a moon function, a sun function. Then the signs are like the what's it called? The glass in churches. I can't think of English words. Like the mosaic, like stained glass of like the filters, right? It's like the filter
mosaic,
of that energy.
Yeah.
Here's a cat, by the way.
Oh, let me see.
So that's like the why.
Buddy. Oh my. Hi. Oh, eyes. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Like the lesson, teaching the lesson. Oh yeah. Kitty's teaching them. I'm sorry. That was great interruption.
Sit on my lap.
No, that gets her every time.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's the signs kind of give more color to it, right? If you have your Mars in Scorpio or Mars in Aries or whatever, ascendant in Scorpio, it explains more detail. Then the houses is like where, the houses represents the separation of you see how your birth chart is separated into like 12 pizza slices, it looks like?
Yes.
Like 12 little boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are houses. So those represent different parts of the sky. So for example, if you were born like around the time of sunset, you might have your sun in the 7th house, because that's where the sun is, right? It's sunset represents the 7th house, and that would make you have each house represents like the where. So it's like each house has a different meaning. So if your sun's in the 7th house has to do with relationships, like harmony. So if you have your sun in the 7th house, right? So 10th house is like career. That's like the midheaven. That's like means that the sun was like at the apex of the sky when you were born, right? It was like above. So at 10th house, suns are really about their career, no matter what zodiac signs. They're here to really do something on a public stage and shine in that way. So yeah, it's complicated, but not. It takes time to just understand your own chart and that of people around you, right? And to learn it. But it's really, one book I recommend for people learning astrology, I always recommend it, is The Inner Sky by Stephen Forrest. He just explains it in a very, very easy to understand way that really gets a job done. And that's the first one I read, and I highly, highly recommend that one.
Okay, I have one more question. I'm looking at this chart too. I'm trying to do my mom's chart. I'm looking at hers, and she's got like a lot of hers are Libra, like 1, 2, 3. Like 5, she's got 5 that are in Libra. So if you have more that are a certain sign, what does that mean? Does that mean anything special?
It really depends. So this is another thing is that I forgot to mention is aspects, right? So aspects are another thing that's
I can't understand.
Yeah, aspects are so important. So that's like the important geometric or angular relationships between 2 planets, or even more, but mostly let's talk 2. So if you have an outer planet, right? Anything from Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, even Chiron, you could count in there, Jupiter kind of, any of those in either like a 90-degree angle or 180-degree angle or even a 0-degree conjunction. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but something in a close proximity to a huge angle, that adds more dimension, it brings more to the table. So that's the thing I said, like you can have, two people can have the exact same charts with like, let's say sun, moon, and rising, but if one of the persons has Pluto 180 degrees away from their moon and Saturn 90 degrees away from their sun, it's going to be way more difficult for that person. So that's just one thing. That's aspects. It's kind of the last thing you have to really understand of your houses. But with the Libra thing, so it depends what planets you're dealing with, because if they're inner planets like ascendant, sun, moon, or inner points, Mercury, Venus, Mars, if like it's a lot of those ones that are in Libra, that's a lot different than if it's outer planets, which are like more generational. They move a lot slower, so they stay in signs for a long time, like Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So if you know what planets they are in Libra, it makes a big difference.
My husband has a ton in Libra too. He's got his moon, his Venus, his what's that one? I don't know how to read it. Mars, Pluto. I think I'm reading those correctly. And is that Chiron? Oh no, wait. Uranus. I think those. He has like 5 in Libra, and Uranus is like, I think they're all in Libra.
Yeah, so, my mind's got 5 too.
So I got Sun, Venus, Mars, Uranus, and Pluto. Yeah, so he's got a lot of Libra for him. And he has a hard time making up his mind, definitely. That cliche, Libra can't make a decision kind of thing. I mean, that's the one thing that's very true. Now, this is a friend who is an astrologer that I talked about earlier. He had told me that his point of view on having a certain, like, he told me, like, where your planets are or what the areas you came here to work on in this.
Oh,
yeah,
that's how he explained it to me. So he was saying, like, my husband's, because he has so much Libra in his chart, like he's mastered, is how this friend put it. He's already learned the lessons from the other parts of the chart, or at least he's not focusing on them in this life. And that's how he explained it to me. In this life, he's focusing on this part to kind of master these and learn from these aspects.
So he's mastering the Libra.
Yeah.
Is that how you see it too, Jesse, or would you explain it differently?
Yeah, I'd say if you have a lot of planets in one sign, there's a huge karmic or evolutionary impetus to master something related to that sign. So if it's in Libra, maybe there's something in past lives. There's something he's really meant to like master a lot related to relationships, and maybe that's something. I'm not gonna take any guesses, but maybe in past lives that's something that was. We can look at the South Node, North Node to know a lot about this, but maybe there's like a real impetus in this life to really go into the Libra material, everything related to Libra, and to master that energy. And when you have a lot of an energy, sometimes it's difficult because it's like such a huge part of your life. It's like this stuff with making decisions and not putting other people before yourself. Stuff like that is really important, and having harmonious relationships that are not necessarily codependent, where there's that right balance between like Aries and Libra energy in relationships. That can be huge aspects.
Well, okay, so I have one more question. Me and Lisa, our charts are we've got. Well, Lisa can probably explain it a little bit better.
We do have some things in common that I found. Is that what you're about to talk about?
Yeah, tell them about that.
Well, we both have like I think both of us are Mercury and Taurus, which I found interesting because we're doing the podcast together. And to me, Mercury is like communication, and Taurus is like
and the way you think too.
Okay, that's great. I didn't think about it that way. Now I do. And then we both have Pisces and Mars, which I thought was really interesting because listeners. Mars is like the planet that gets things going. It's kind of, some people associate it with aggression. What would you say you associate Mars with, Jesse? Like
it's just where your action's oriented. So Mars and Pisces, it's like your action, your drive is towards spirituality and towards more like uniting people, uniting consciousness, oneness, stuff of that nature.
To me, it was
art too.
Yeah, like to me, it was also like we probably don't want to fight. Pisces don't want to fight. And it's like we find a solution.
Yeah, it's very peaceful energy.
Yeah, it is. And there was something else we had.
It's also like it watches. It's someone who like looks over the underdog, who like wants to like help people and help the suffering people for sure.
Well, what was that weird thing though? Yeah. What was the one that we both were? What were you going to ask again, Lisa? What was next?
That was the one I was here. I can't remember what I was going to say next.
Because there was one like ours is like just alike, and you might have already said it.
Yeah, I think. So
what does that mean? But what if two people that like are friends or soulmates or whatever it may be, and they have like the same thing on both their charts? What would that mean?
Well, there's also
the same thing as in like a lot.
She's saying like if we have the same signs, same planets in the same signs, but also there's degrees of like where the planet is up to 30, right? Like 30 degrees. Is that correct?
Yeah.
29 is 0
exactly.
to 29 degrees. So Misty, I've learned that from you, Jesse, from some of the stuff you posted, and and it's
nice.
Like the degrees show from. You have to correct me if I'm wrong. You can look at them from 0 to 9, and then from 10 to 19, and then from, I think, 20 to 29, something like that on each sign. So there's those degrees to look at, and they can tell you more details about what, like, from what I understood, say, Misty has Pisces. She has her Mars and Pisces, and let's say it's at 13 degrees. I'm not looking at it, but mine, let's say it's at 23 degrees. So from what I understand, hers would be two water signs away from Pisces. So, or what? Wait, yeah. So I'm trying to get this right. Like it's not Pisces, but it'd be the next water sign and then the next water sign away, right?
Oh yeah. I mean that's kind of like more
get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. There can be differences though in like how they're not identical because of those degrees. And like you said, the aspects. So they're.
Yeah. I mean, they're still going to be similar. It's going to be a similar expression, It's like little changes. I mean, what's the name of it? I can't remember. Basically like the first 10 degrees of a given sign is more like Pisces. It's like, what is it? It's Pisces. And the second part is Pisces Cancer. And the third part is Pisces Scorpio. So
that's what I was trying to do. Yeah.
It's something like that. Yeah, but it's not like super, I don't know. I've done hundreds of readings and I'll never really like talk about that in the readings because I think that like Mars or Venus or Mars and Pisces, it's Mars and Pisces like to an extent, I think that I look at that more for sun signs. But yeah, the expression, like people who have the similar charts are going to have like a similar exprestion and they're going to, get each other. Yeah. But sometimes opposites attract and there's, I mean, with like friends or partnerships?
Yeah,
I guess.
Either.
I would say like usually partnerships, like, cause you can also have like the same element, like, for example, I'm a Pisces, my girlfriend's a Scorpio. They're both water signs, right?
Right.
So if you are like an Aries, maybe you'll like a Leo or a Sagittarius because those are both fire. With Taurus, maybe it's Capricorn or Virgo. So there's also that because those are like the elements that really get along. So it's really complicated, like the whole compatibility stuff. But
it's fun,
yeah, there's every combination under the roof. Yeah.
Well, a lot of us. I'm sorry, Lisa. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, a lot of us think just alike, don't we, Lisa?
At the same time,
right? But like a lot of us, mainly that's what we want to know. Like every time you pick up a magazine and you open it up, I mean, there's the horoscope, and you're gonna read it and see if it matches with your future mate or whatever. How accurate do you really think that is?
What,
I mean, do you think
it's horrible? I mean, the stuff in newspapers and magazines. I mean, I never read it. I try not to, but it's like every astrologer, talks about how that's really what gives a bad name to astrology.
Yes.
I mean, most of the stuff because it's overly simplified because astrology is so multidimensional. It's like if you were like I don't know, something like astrophysics. If you were just and like, there's so many dimensions to it. If you were just giving like a simplified, like the stuff you learn in like the first year studying that, if you were like using that as like the thing that you're talking about in the magazines about it. The astrophysicists would be like, what the hell is this? You know,
Yeah.
this is like,
Yeah.
this is something you learned right away. But it's the only reason they're saying it is because that's what's easily understood by people, and people, it sells magazines to think, oh, you know, but sun sign is only one, your sun sign is only a small part. Yeah. It's only a small part of your whole chart, you know, like someone can be in Aries and have like every planet in Pisces, right? So then how, you know, should they be reading for Aries or Pisces?
Right. Exactly.
I have a question for you. So in your studies about astrology, what is the best resource you found to describe the origin of astrology, or what do you feel the origin of astrology? Where did it come from? I mean, there's a lot of theories I've read, but nobody really knows. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's from the gods. I mean, astrology, it's been, if you believe in Atlantis and Lemuria, I believe it's been passed down from those cultures. But I really think it's from, you know, a higher realm of existence, and it's a mystery. You know, like so many great things in life are mysteries.
I love that mystery.
But it's definitely at least, you know.
Me too.
Yeah, it was definitely like in ancient days, you know, astronomy and astrology were like the same thing, and it's kind of, there's been a diversion away from it, but now we're coming back to it, I hope.
Yeah. I first started with palmistry, and palmistry has a lot in common with astrology. And as you found in exploring, I'm sure as you've explored other things other than astrology, you found, like you said, if you learn astrology, everything else is easier. But palmistry is the one thing I found the closest to astrology, in that it just goes forever. You know, you can learn and learn and learn and learn for like millions of lifetimes, but who figured these things out? You know, who thought to
that's cool.
make a birth chart? Who thought to like look at your palms and make meanings for them, and they correspond to astrology.
And tarot cards too.
Yeah. So it's all like
runes or anything. Together. Yeah.
So Jesse, if you were to, you know, let's give our listeners, most of our listeners are people who are just finding out for the first time about themselves and their spirituality or their psychic side or their intuitive side or anything like that, or working with their energy for the first time. Do you have any advice for people just starting out, or even maybe a little more farther along? Or, I mean, get a cat, definitely. I think that's your advice right now.
Cat well, she's trying so hard to distract me. She's like scratching everything on my new pants.
She's a good one. Oh, get her. She's so
yeah, she's amazing. With astrology, so I would say, you know, you always want to, I think starting with a book, either like the one I said, like The Inner Sky by Stephen Forrest, or if you're a more technical one is Horoscope Symbols by Robert Hand. That's the best way, because you're going to get lost if you just like try to like learn astrology from like different, like that's the best way to start. The book will take you step by step, and then you'll have a foundation to get the foundation, you know, and you'll have like new metaphors planted in your mind about how to think of the representations, kind of like the ones I gave you guys earlier about like the houses and signs. It's like a lot from that book that I keep passing down to people. And then, you know, from that, astrology is like so multidimensional, where, for example, like, you know, I have Mars and Venus in Aquarius. Like I can like read a new article right now. I could go on Google and search Mars in Aquarius. I could read like a 15-minute article. I could watch a 45-minute YouTube video, and I'm going to be learning new stuff about them, because astrology is not like, it's also, it's an art and a science. So it's based a lot on people's experience. So you want to read books and learn in that way too, but you also need to learn by like looking, for example, is there a celebrity you know, or a friend or family? Look at their chart, try to make connections in your own mind, because you're going to have a different like view of what the signs and what the alignments represent than might be mainstream, right?
Right.
It's so fun. I love it.
I love that advice, and that's really great. So how, Jesse, where can listeners who might want to find out more about you, or find your book when it gets published, or your Instagram, where can people find you if they want to find out? And your podcast, of course, that's his most excellent. People, you got to listen to his podcast.
Thank you. Yeah. So let's go down. Let me try to think of all these things. Okay.
I will put all this in the description of the of the podcast too. So yeah.
Okay, cool. You can just email me. I can send you like a list or something.
Okay, sounds good.
But okay, so Instagram's weird right now. Maybe by the time you guys are listening to this, hopefully my main Instagram will be restored. I basically don't have it right now because I'm using some application that shows me my statistics, and I don't know. So right now I have two Instagrams. It's Jesse Inisan. Astro is the main one. My name will be copy and pasted here. So Jesse Inisan Astro, and then Jesse Inisan Vlog. So I'm really into like traveling, and I'm going to do a lot in my life with traveling and not just astrology. So that one will be, right now I'm using that one as my main one. So those are the two Instagrams. Maybe add me on both. Hopefully the other one's back. The podcast, it's with my best friend Tre, the guy who who is my roommate in Boulder. It's called Jesse and Tre Podcast. We've done 9 episodes so far. We just had our best episode with this amazing Indian Vedic astrologer, psychic. She's psychic. And then what am I missing? The book, it's not released. I have no idea if it's going to be like how I'm going to do the business side of it or like the printing or whatever. I'm sure it will be on Amazon, places like that. It's going to be called, just remember the title, Pisces Live 9 Lives. And
that's an easy one, yeah.
2021. Yeah.
I'll remember that
the last name is hard.
That's really great.
My last name is Inisan for anyone.
Wait,
I-N-I. S like S-A-N, N is in Nancy. Yeah, it's such a hard last name. It's French, but it's like, even for French people, it's hard to pronounce.
How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it in French?
In French, it's Inisan.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like it.
But it's like, yeah. So that's pretty much all my stuff. And then YouTube also.
I have one last question for you before we. First, I would like to thank the sponsor.
Sure.
Our sponsor is Everclear. That is an advice app where you can get your advice from psychics and empaths. And that's where I work. And you can download the app and find readers and empaths who would love to help you find the guidance you need to create the life you deserve. So, Jesse, I do have a couple of questions. So you said you speak 3 languages. What are they? I'm just curious. So you speak French, I guess, right? And English?
Yeah, French, English, I guess, kind of.
You're really good at that.
English. Yeah, Romanian too. I learned since I've come.
Okay, can you say?
And I understand Spanish, but I don't speak it anymore because
now I have a favor.
It's just a long story. But
can you say something like, thank you for listening to this podcast in all 3 languages?
Yeah. I can try Spanish. I'll try Spanish too. I don't know if my Spanish will be good. But yeah, in French, merci pour écouter ce podcast. In English, thank you for listening to this podcast. In Romanian, mulțumesc pentru asculta acest podcast. I don't know if that was perfect. And then Spanish, gracias pentru shit. This is my Spanish. It's like Romanian has it's like gracias por escucho. See, I don't know.
I
love it.
Spanish,
yeah,
but it's not too good.
Romanian and Spanish are so similar that when I learn Romanian, I just like completely they're so similar that like all my Spanish got like whipped over by a tidal wave, and like I'll try to speak Spanish. I say pentru because it's like pentru in Romania is por in Spanish, and like it just doesn't work. So I can understand it, but it's so hard to speak it now. It's so weird.
Yeah.
I can barely speak English, so we're good. Yeah.
Same. It's getting harder for me too.
I want to thank you so much for coming and doing this.
Yeah,
I'd love to have you back anytime. And if your friend Tre would like to come be on the show,
love to, yeah.
That would be freaking fun. I'd love that. And I do want to talk after the podcast. I do want to tell you, I used to, I was very involved with publishing and stuff like that and stuff. I can give you maybe some ideas where you can take your book. Anyway, thank you so much, Misty.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you,
Jesse, and thank you so much,
listeners. Thanks, guys.
And have a great afternoon. Goodbye.
Bye.